As some of you might already know, back in 2018, unfortunately my B1 and B2 visa was cancelled. If you haven't seen my video, which became the most viewed video of the channel, so make sure you click below or like here on the corner. Please watch it first to see like everything that I've been through before watching this one. Shortly to sum it up, I was denied an entry when I was in Detroit and my visa was cancelled. I was not like banned, which most of the time happens when this cancellation goes, but little did I know that cancellation would have significant impact on my entire US journey and visas and so on. I replied to all comments one by one, and many of you have been waiting to hear an update on how things are going in the last 5 years after my cancellation. Alright, so after the cancellation, the very first thing I did was directly applying for the same visa that was cancelled. I did the application in my country in capital of Turkey, Ankara. For those of you things like capital is Istanbul, it's Ankara. So the interview was very short, and while I don't remember like the questions I asked, I really recall being asked about like one question that whether I've been to the US, which obviously they asked me because of my cancellation, and I answered them yes, and without giving any context because I wasn't asked for, so I didn't like try to do explanation. She didn't like ask any details about it. Took around like 3 minutes, and less than 3 minutes of to the conversation, she kind of like told me, well, you're not eligible for this time, and I quote unquote remember her saying this sentence that I wasn't eligible, and I was like grabbing my passport and the paper of the rejection. She also kind of like said, by the time I was taking the passport, you'll say you live in China, go and apply from there. At that time, my residency was still in China because I still was a student. Later in 2019, I listened to her advice and I applied for the same visa, B1, B2, in the Guangzhou, China, US consulate. This time, the interview was definitely different. The person who was interviewing me had many discussions and questions for me. By the time my interview was done, everyone else in the consulate and on the line to be interviewed was gone. It took over 30 minutes, like maybe 40, I don't know. Overall, it was like a very good experience, and I had like a better chance of like explaining myself. I felt like very more confident, so I like that one a lot. So during this interview, I mentioned that I've been meeting and talking with the companies when I was in the US, and I was like aiming to strengthen our relationships with them, having more relationships as I was doing when I was in the US in 2018. I also explained that I helped to my business back then when I was like selling on Amazon. I was like doing the labeling products, and which was like my cancellation reason that I was like kind of entering an active labor, but I did not think that there would be a problem. I clarified to him that it was like not my primary source of income. It was like very little help. I was kind of like trying to convey that it was not like an active work that I was making my living out of. I also like made a comparison, say something like, so if I had a restaurant in the US with this visa, I'm not going to be able to like move a chair off the restaurant. Is that correct? I said something like this. And I remember like him laughing, and he was saying that, not laughing, like smiling. He was saying that like, oh, the amount of help that I provided should be more than I should have, or something like that. So that should be the reason of cancellation. And unfortunately, he also mentioned that he wouldn't give me the visa due to the same reasons of the cancellation. It seemed that I may face like some same issues if I, get the same visa, if I try to enter again. And he suggested me that like I can consider getting a working visa with these companies that I was having a partnership. It might be better for me. I pursue a working visa with them. I think like this is when I asked him. Then he said it. Also, I remember like since I was planning to apply for the E2, like very, very early on, I asked him about that one, E2 like Turkey visa. He said like it's not his expertise, and despite that the result was not positive for me, the conversation was like super nice and he was helpful. I needed to start working on my E2 master visa, but soon after I started working, late 2019 when I was in China, COVID started. One thing that COVID completely destroyed, it is the US consulate and their visa processing times. The US consulate in particular, I don't know the other ones, but like it's all crashed for me. Even right now, after 5 years of COVID-19 pandemic, some consulates are still like taking super long visa issuing dates, like over a year and stuff. The embassies were closed for a very long time because that they were not working. I kind of like postponed my application and I put it on a shelf. Up until late 2022, I did not pursue to try to apply for any visas again. And by that time, my business kind of like grew and it became like my main thing. And I was like very confident and I felt like ready for E2 visa. Also, I discontinued with the company that I was involved with back then for this visa. So I started like kind of like look more professional immigration lawyers that I believe that could help me better. I consulted around like 6 lawyers and paid around $150 to $250 for like 30-minute consultation, spent like close to $2K. And one of the most famous and well-reputed lawyer in my country said that the cancellation I had is not something simple. It was not something simple, and most likely I will not gonna be ever able to get like a E2 visa, student visa. Said that it doesn't matter how strong, how big business you have. He used a funny example, something like, think of that, like Elon Musk of Turkey, let's say, okay? He wants to get to Tesla for this visa. Even he couldn't do it. To help me to understand, he clearly said that, okay, it's 99% unlikely to 1% chance that you could get it. And I said it's because only lawyers, cannot guarantee anything. And he offered me a few other options that he thought it would be best for my case, which I'm going to be discussing more in the video. But yeah, it was very hard to hear from me that he was saying that. However, I talked with other lawyers, and all other the 5 lawyers told me that the cancellation would have no impact on it at all. And a famous lawyer who said that there's no chances was wrong. Some of them even knows him, and saying that he could be wrong. And that lawyer was recommending me, the option that I was seeing was EB3 visa, which is called a perm, where a company sponsors me with a green card and I go to the country directly with a green card, which sounded great. However, since the other lawyer, and this was taking something very long, the other lawyers was saying that, okay, it has no impact. I started look, let me try the E visa. And I started studying my own case and my own file. I started putting everything in great detail. I got my interview date in Istanbul, and they scheduled for a year after the application, which I'm still waiting for. I didn't go to that one. It's going to be in February 2024. Of course, your boy didn't want to wait that long for a year to be interviewed, so I started researching other countries and other consulates. I found out that US consulate in Bangkok, Thailand was giving interviews in about 2 months. So I started preparing, adjusting everything depending on the Bangkok's consulate's requirements. And I got my interview in Bangkok, Thailand. After I prepared everything, I sent all the documents in late February. They gave me an interview date for July 3rd, 2023. In the time between the documents and by the time I sent the documents and the interview date, when I started in January, to preparing, and after few months, our business grew 2 times, from employees to customers, headcount, revenue, and more. So I additionally prepared a comprehensive physical case, which was not included in the email that I sent them. I'm gonna put a picture of it. It contains bank statements, letters, email conversation with partners, employee matters, investment proof, sources, and a lot of things. I prepared everything that I could. I even think that I over prepared, and many people get the visa that I'm trying to get by getting a food truck. Also, these are deep topics, to be honest. It's not just about the business being big or making it money. It has its specific terms, specific criteria for the eligibility of the visa, so you have to be meeting with them. So it's not my expertise, guys, again. When the interview date came, I went to the consulate in Bangkok, and I discussed with the people who got this visa before in different countries. They told me that, unlike regular US visa interviews, there's no, you're in a room, you sit down on the table, you have conversations, they ask you random things, they open your documents, this and that. But when I went to the interview, in Bangkok, I interviewed from the same place where everyone was being interviewed, for the regular visas. It was the bank counter thing, and I was expecting a room. The only difference that I had that I didn't get in line is that I sat down and they called my name by the speaker. Hi, so the first time I was called, the first window, there was a lady who asked me if I've been to the US before, and I replied yes. And she directly asked me about my visa, and I was holding my passport. As I said, it's my old passport. Before I could finish my sentence, she said, can I see it or give it to me? I gave her my old passport. She looked at it, and then she told me to sit down again, and she's going to call me again. I thought I'm still going to go to the room, by the way. And I went up again, and when I was called for the second time, I gave fingerprints. didn't do anything. They asked me to sit down, and I was called for the final time, third time. Okay, there was this loud, white, 50-year-old officer who was interviewing everyone in the room one by one, and everybody was hearing him, and I was called to his counter. So when I went there, he started talking to me. He asked me about like what the company was doing, and I replied to him that we help people with legal services, business formation services, explained him what we do pretty much. From the first minute of his attitude, kind of like made me uncomfortable, which maybe like is the way that the interviews are, by the way. I was just uncomfortable. I'm saying that. He looked at me and he said like, "Are you a lawyer?" He asked me like in a weird way. He said like, "No." I explained him that like we have contractors, like partnership with registered agents in all 50 states. Exempt agents from the IRS, that's how we operate. And he continued talking in the same manner and said, "Well, this company was doing this and now doing this." I was like, "Yeah, pretty much we don't do e-commerce anymore." And he said like, "You basically rented a house." Something like that. Your employees are not employees. Like we had conversations about these ones, but like I was feeling okay, this is not happening. He asked me why I applied in Thailand, and I said like waiting times in my country are long. And then he asked me the same question again, like why Thailand? Why Thailand? Something like this. And it was like as if it was like the weirdest thing. Like I replied it, you know, and even though I replied I replied it again. I said like I prefer Thailand due to the shorter waiting times. But like he was like, okay, I had to not give a visa to this guy. I felt like my visa interview was like that, okay? While this all was happening, I already clearly felt that I wasn't getting the visa. And in the end, he told me that he can't give me the two. He couldn't give me the two visa for two reasons. And also, like, he's right about these ones. He mentioned that, I think he's right. He mentioned that I'd invested a lot of money, but he didn't see me spending the money. There's no marginality. And it seemed like it would be good for my own pocket for me to go and work there for no one else. He wasn't even listening to me at the end because I was saying like I have proof that I've spent more. He kept interrupting me, and I tried to explain that. At that point, I was like, okay, look, let me just explain myself, but like it was not happening. He was not taking it. He didn't listen to me. He mentioned me that I was also, okay, like you bought some furniture. I didn't buy any furniture. I put anything about buying a furniture at all. Yeah, maybe he said that mistakenly. I don't know. Yeah, so he told me based on these reasons, I was not eligible for the visa. He also said that he doesn't know which type of visa I should get. So yeah, kind of like, you know, pretending his voice, but like he said like, go suggest you can suggest an immigration lawyer or something like that. To sum it up, okay, I was rejected. That was my third rejection, the very first rejection from the e-visa. The only positive thing that I remember him being saying that, oh, he liked the idea, he liked it a lot, he liked the business. And he said like, it looks like you can do it from anywhere. He doesn't, he said like, you don't have to be in the US, which he's kind of like right, but we do work with like all of those people, like the business is based about US. And he also like asked me like someone strangely, you don't have American customers, like why are you gonna go, why would I give you the visa to go and work there? What are you gonna do there? I tried to explain that, okay, I'm not going there to look for customers. The main reasons for me is being there is that we work with IRS representatives, big companies, fintech companies. Like I want to have stronger relationships and be on the field, go to the seminars, like fairs, these type of things, events. And yeah, I was rejected. So right now I have only one interview left, which I'm going to go in February 2024. I'm very eligible. There are many reasons why I need to be present at the business and so on. I'm planning to get even like more prepared for that. Hire an American employee like full-time. I have like a woman that's part-time. And since our business like even grew further, because when I applied in January, I couldn't send like the statements and all of that with the good numbers. And yeah, it's kind of like one of the unfortunate things that I faced today that I don't have really control of. And sometimes, yeah, we can't hold the life in our hand, and I take it like, okay, whatever, you know, because I have to. The only thing that really made me sad, that I was super patient, and I was like very hardworking, and I put a lot of my time to my case as well. I filed my taxes like for the last 4 years, with still like higher numbers that I tried to kind of like pay. There's something that I've kind of like done wrong. I didn't go work there. However, like a guy purchases a food truck and gets the same visa, but my interview goes this way. I don't get to like show any of the documents that I took there. That was the sad part, but whatever, man. If it was like a rejection that I've experienced in Guangzhou, China, I wasn't waiting to get accepted because of that lawyer who told me that. But my interview there in Bangkok took about like 5 minutes. And I invested over like $100,000, grow the business, and I didn't like get a chance to you know, prepare anything maybe the lawyer who says that I'm not eligible is right, and my cancellation back in 2018 is more important than I anticipated. I'm going to be surely making the part 3 of this video, which could be like right after I go to the interview in Turkey, February 2024, for the same visa, or it could be like this, I can come back in 5-10 years. Just, yeah, make sure that you stay with me, you subscribe to the channel. If you watch up until this point, you're a true fan for me. Please tell me your thoughts, even though it's negative. I get comments like, "Oh, you were there illegally, you was working." I take that too, man. I just write it down. I love discussing in the comments and seeing their people that I'm kind of sharing this with. And if you still didn't watch the first video as well, then I think that it's a good watch, the most viewed video of my channel. Make sure you watch it by clicking here. That was it pretty much for today. I'll be seeing you on my next videos.